Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate, we inspire, we add value to your life, to your business, and we just have fun, because what good does it do to be living life and having business if you have no fun? And so many times we forget to have fun. And I'll tell you, we talk about Superman, we talk about Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, but today we got the real American superhero. We got the America's supermom, LaChelle Adkins, and woo! I've been saving all my troubles for this day because I know she's gonna take them all away. Let's welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Miss LaChelle Adkins, America's supermom. How you doing?
I am fantabulous. So glad to be here today. And I love what you said, about being the super mom because, we started off with our weapon, and that is prayer. Okay. So that is the way that you get through anything, is praying your way out. So I appreciate being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Daniel. You have always been a great supporter, and those prayers that you send me do not go unappreciated every time I get them through Facebook Messenger. So I'm excited to be here today.
Woo! I'll tell you what. I don't know if I'm more excited because I know if bricks start falling on me, I'm going to be saved right away. So I think that's why I'm excited. I got the original America Super Mom. Woo woo! Hey, but don't let her name mistaken you. She ain't no chump either. She'll leap, she'll hop, and she'll get that frying pan out, and boom, baby, let's go. She's called America Supermom because so many times in business, so many times in life, we make excuses.
Mhm.
And I've had the pleasure of just really growing with her these past 4 or 5 months, and spending more time with her just in rooms that we do together, and we've been doing some amazing things. And but she has 15 amazing, beautiful children,
Mhm.
and never once have I heard her say, well, I can't do this because of this child, or I can't do this because of this child. LaChelle, so many times in life and in business, we make excuses after excuse after excuse. And you have 15 legitimate reasons to make an excuse, right? You got tooth canals, root
Mhm.
canals, this, that, whatever it may be. How did you get to this point? Because so I just had this new client that came on board, and right away an excuse came out. I'm thinking like they read, I have to work on myself. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, in case you didn't realize this, you are your business. So to work on your
Right.
business, you got to work on yourself. And it's just an excuse that comes out. How did you get to this point where your 15 beautiful children, you didn't use them as an excuse? Talk to us about that
Mhm.
if you don't mind, if we can open up with that. I think somebody needs to hear that because so many times it breaks my heart when we use our children, our kids as an excuse.
Yes. And so I think that's a great question and a great way to begin. My story is a long one, but I will try to summarize it quickly to get to this point because I think this is important. I was raised an only child. So I didn't have any siblings growing up. My mom was one of 12, and she left very humble beginnings through education. She was the first one to graduate from college. And so she instilled that academic work ethic in me. So I was raised with academics just being normal, making good grades, being on honor roll, things of that nature. Fast forward, I met my husband on that quest of the American dream to do everything right, go to high school, graduate, go to college, get a good job, have this career, retire, and, that's it. And met my husband, and I was on the road to be a corporate attorney. So when we had our first child, which we had before we got married, life kind of took another turn. We were spiritually led at that time. We believed that God was the foundation for our relationship. So we got married, and we originally wanted to have 5 children. When we got married, I still had to finish school. So I was still taking classes, being this mom and everything. And I just had this idea that I just felt I couldn't do them both. I was very academically driven, but when I was faced with being a mom at the same time, I felt like I couldn't do both to the best of my ability. So I chose to be a stay-home mom. So I finished my degree and I stayed home because we wanted to have 5 children. And then fast forward, we have 15. That's a whole story within itself. But I just had this period of being unfulfilled. I love being a mom and enjoyed that. And the whole premise of me not using them as an excuse was built around the fact that my husband and I had a can do attitude always. He was the youngest of 5. We never had any family around to help us raise our children. It was just he and I, but he was the breadwinner. So he would go off to work. He was in the military. We had a relationship in the church before he became a pastor. And so we just had this attitude that God's not going to put anything on us we can't bear. So if we have these children, it's going to be our responsibility to raise them. And so that was really the catalyst that had me in the mindset of thinking nothing is too hard to where you have to make an excuse. Because if you live in your life for Christ, he is not going to put anything on you that you can't bear. So that really was the basis for
Boom, baby,
having
look at
that
it.
mindset.
Dropping wisdom already, right? So this is the part of the show where I say, get out your pen and paper because something magical happens when you write down what you hear, what you're listening to. You retain 80% of it more. So take some notes because America Supermom's going to drop some wisdom down, and she's knows what she's talking about. Has a very successful business podcast, so you definitely want to take notes down, and we're going to have some business conversations, live talk here, but most importantly, it's going to be real talk, right? So let me ask you this: so you start this journey of becoming the mother. You have 15 children, and then one day you wake up out of the blue. You're living life. What in the heck made you say I want to be an entrepreneur? That's what I want to know. How did this come about? Because there's so many people right now. We know you just said something so much. I don't want to say the American dream is dead. I just think it's been revitalized, right? It's a 2021 version. And I say that for me because becoming a business owner again in this later stage of my life has been the best thing that's happened to me. And it's given me freedom. We're doing things we've never done before. But the American dream, I think of going to school, going to college, getting that job. You're there for 40 years, whatever years, 20 years. Those days are gone, right? It's like, why am I going to work, stay at a job for a pension and for a gold watch? I'll go buy my own gold watch, I always say. And talk to us about that. What made that light come on for LaChelle that said, hey, I'm here. I don't want to be here anymore. And where the heck did that come from?
Yeah, I think it was just ingrained in me. I just was raised up with that mindset because I was always a high achiever. I always had a can-do attitude. I was very independent, self-motivated, and those were all the traits that helped me in business. And my degree was in marketing, so I just love business. That was something that I really enjoyed. I think it was something that didn't matter about your gender, your age, your race. It was something that, there were other factors outside of the limitations that really kept me thirsty and hungry for that. And so I think the challenge for me was when I went through my period of depression, because I went through that for 13 years and 3 hospitalizations, I felt like I couldn't do that and be a mom. So I felt like I had to put my entrepreneurial hat and life on hold, even though my husband and I had several home businesses. We did what we could to supplement the income because he was the only one working. But there was always that desire, why do I have all these skills? I mean, why is it that I feel like I can't use them in a way that's going to serve me? And so I think the issue was learning how to craft that in a way to where I was still able to thrive and do the things that I enjoyed and be a mom at the same time. And so that is really was the catalyst for me embracing the brand America Supermom because, for years my whole life was built on the American dream. I felt like I was doing everything right. So why was I unfulfilled and having this situation? I mean, it was crazy. So I learned to define it the way that served me. And so that was really the catalyst for me doing it because, I always thought about business. I mean, I keep every receipt, all kinds of things, it's just my mindset. It's like you need this in case you have to have proof, because I want to be a corporate attorney. So, I mean, even now I have papers everywhere. It's like I don't want to throw this away. We got to keep this in case of that. So, yeah.
But it's we're joking about it, we're laughing about it, but most people don't keep those receipts. You need those receipts as a business owner. I mean, it's business 101. Keep your darn receipts, Daniel. Keep your
so true.
Show. And so many times we do things. I'm looking at people that I coach, some of my clients. I'm like, we just went to lunch. Are you going to save that receipt? No, for what? I'm like, dude, you just took me to lunch. Like that was a $40 bill. That's a tax write-off. What?
Exactly.
And they don't realize that these little. I look at my Excel sheet, my spreadsheet, and I'm thinking like, how in the heck did my expenses get to this month, right? Because in my mind, if I travel, I know I got a $2,000 or $3,000 bill. I understand that it's going to go higher. But when I don't have anything and it's at 4,000 or 5,000, I'm like, what did I buy? But it's all those little 40, 10, 20. They add up.
They add up. They add up. Yeah. And I think also, I grew up with a mindset. I was always the only, a lot of times. So I was the only female, the only Black person in a lot of my classes. And I learned to be a spokesperson even before I wanted to be, because they would say, so from a Black person's perspective, what do you think about X or whatever? And it was something that really made me uncomfortable. However, it ended up being a great strength for me in the long run, as I was able to get older and understand that, I have to have something of substance or be aware of something to say something that's meaningful and impactful. So got a lot of practice with that growing up.
Well, I got to say this. I've known you now going on 4 years, and just the fact of the woman that you've become lately in business, you say things, I'm like, where did that come from, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm like, that was good stuff. That was good. Let me write this down. Where did that come from? Like, girl, what are you hanging out with that you ain't telling me, right? LaChelle be holding out. America Supermom be holding out with me. She's hanging out with all these superheroes, and DG Inspires did not get the invite. I'm like, I wanted to know that. But in all seriousness, I have seen a tremendous growth in your thinking. And so many times we want our life and our business to change, but we never really put that focus on the thought patterns that we have within our own mindset, within our own brain. What has happened to LaChelle these last 2 years? Because I don't know if you see it, but I see it. You ain't the same superhero mom.
Yeah. I think, it's being around great people such as yourself and not being afraid to admit what you don't know. I look at every opportunity and just you understand this with having different guests on your podcast. I have such a hunger for learning that I look at each guest as, oh, what are they going to teach me? It's like Christmas to me because, I think so much of what they share with me, I just didn't know. And I'm just blown away with every guest that I get. So not only that, it's not a matter of just repeating what they say, but trying to incorporate what they say in my life. And I have been doing that every day. And it takes work. I have to have my phone and set a timer to remind me, hey, say something positive to yourself or do something or whatever, because it's not something that I have a habit in. I'm learning something different every day. So that's really what I would attribute it to.
So let me ask you this. Somebody right now is listening to this episode and they're stuck, they're not happy. What are 3 things you recommend for that person to start doing to really change their life? What's the best advice you can give them? And maybe one of them can be life and the other 2 can be our business or whatever God puts in your heart. But give us 3 things that can really help you to start going down that path to becoming the new you.
Yeah. The first thing is be honest with yourself. So often with our ego, we want to blame people. I can only speak from my own experience. It's like, oh, I'm a high achiever. What is up with me being depressed? For years, it wasn't even on my radar because I thought depression was somebody who didn't get out of bed, somebody who wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, I'm accomplishing things. My kids are doing stuff. I'm not depressed. So I think, one is being willing to tell the truth about some stuff. Is what you're doing serving you? Do you want something different? Asking yourself questions so you can get out of that stuck mode. The second thing is it's okay to ask for help. You may not understand how, maybe you don't feel comfortable, build up that comfort muscle to ask. Maybe you start out by just inquiring on Google or YouTube or something, but begin that process of finding out how you can change your situation rather than believing that it is your destiny to stay where you are. And then the third thing is continue to dream. But one thing about dreams is they can come true, right?
Yes.
Times we're living nightmares instead of our dreams because we're not taking the steps necessary to make these dreams come true. So don't be letting go of your dream. Continue. My daughter got me a mug for Mother's Day. It says, don't quit your daydream. And you have to keep dreaming, but you have to make sure you have action with those dreams.
Boom, baby. There it is. Dream, be a dreamer, but take action. But I love what you said, number one. Think about what you said.
Mhm.
Woo! Be honest with yourself. Willis, Daniel, Maria, whoever's out listening to this, Robert.
Amen.
Be honest with yourself. Stop playing that blame game. Let me say that again.
Mhm.
It's time you get serious about the results. You have to be
Mhm.
intentional. Stop blaming others. And it's time you
Mhm.
look in the man or the woman in the mirror and be honest with yourself. I think that's the hardest one out of everything you said.
So true.
I think it's the hardest one. And I think it's because sometimes we don't want to believe it.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
for me, when I saw myself, which I wasn't seeing myself, because I you have some ideas, right, of what's going on, but I think I was stuck in an area of just living on that autopilot. And
Mhm.
my self-awareness was not even there. You're just doing things. And I look back at how I acted in some scenarios or some just situation. I'm like, man, I was a bonehead, right? I'm being honest.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I can look at back and I'm being like, I didn't like that guy either. No wonder people didn't like me sometimes.
Exactly.
but
Exactly. I'm with you.
but you got to be honest with yourself. Why do you think
Mhm.
it's so hard for us? You're a good looking, beautiful woman. I'm a good looking guy, but it's like
Mhm.
we still can't be honest with ourselves. So why is it so hard?
Right. Well, I know in my case, I was trained to cover up your shortcomings. I had to focus on the positive. So when you give a presentation, forget about, the ums and ahs. You want to just make this presentation right. So you want to always put your best foot forward. So the problem with that is that, the presentation is like the game and everything else is practice. The game is really won in practice, not just in the game. It's just that
Say
people
that
end
again.
up
Say that again. Woo woo! That's a
the
boom,
game
baby. When is
the
the game
game
won?
is really won at practice. Okay. And people just end up seeing the fruits of your labor when you play the game. But I think
Ooh.
so often we compare ourselves to everybody's highlight reel that it's like somebody gives you all the ingredients for a cake, but you don't know how to put the cake together because it starts as a liquid and ends up being a solid once it's in the oven. But that whole part about how do you mix it, what ingredients go in at what time, and all this, that's the part that you miss when you're watching people's highlight reels because you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So often, heroes are made in dark. Okay. So, what that
Ooh.
means
Say it
is
again. Say it again.
heroes are made in the dark.
Oh, I love that.
So all the times while everybody's at the party, the heroes at home doing their work, doing their content, doing whatever, really missing out on a lot of these opportunities that are building character and consistency in them that other people don't see until the work ends up manifesting and other people witness it. So I think that's the thing. You can't just go recreate what you see a highlight reel is, because there's hours, what was it? Malcolm Gladwell said 10,000 hours goes into something
Yeah, to become a
that you
master at something.
master.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you can't just do that, recreate that on a Instagram post or a Facebook video. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
And you're right, because I think about, we're doing this episode. It's coming out amazing. I'm loving it. I'm having fun with you. And it's
Mhm.
like when I first started doing my podcast, I'm like, I had an idea what it was going to be, but really I didn't know. I just said, well, God, guide me. But I can tell you that I look back at some of my first episodes and I'm like, I wasn't a good interviewer. Right? I'm being honest. I'm like,
I-
you're like, I stunk. And of
yeah.
course, I mean, I had some level of decency, but it's just the way you get the reps is just have fun with it. And I think so many times we're so serious in life and in business that you miss the fun part. And I can tell you that it's just putting in the reps, just being guests
So
on
true.
episodes and doing your own episodes. And I think the average is what most podcasts never get to episode 10, or they quit by episode 10
Right.
because it just oh yeah, but it takes work, it takes practice. You got to be
So true.
consistent. Like I tell everybody, don't call me on Tuesdays. I'm not doing nothing on Tuesdays because that's my podcast day, and that's just it's and it works out good now. It's part of my routine and part of what I do.
Yeah.
But I say that because what you're saying is, yes, here's the ingredients. Here's your mic. Here's your Zoom. Here's your whatever you use as far as Anchor, Buzzsprout, whatever you're going to use.
Hmm.
But the thing is this, is that you have to be consistent as one of the ingredients every single Tuesday. And
Right.
every single day in business, every single week, you have to be consistent. And so many times they see the cake of success, like you're saying, LaChelle. They see
Hmm.
that beautiful cake and they're like, wow, look at what LaChelle's doing. And they think they can come on Clubhouse, or they think they can see a reel and they're like, I want to do that. And then they want it from one day to the next, and it doesn't work that way.
So true. And
Yeah.
when you're not doing the work, you're not going to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
See, people who aren't doing the work, they're like, oh, so how many followers do you have? I mean, the questions aren't the same if you're not doing the work. If you're actually doing a video, okay, so what kind of mic? Why do you use a different one? I mean, because I'm noticing the sound. There is questions that come from being in it. How do you interview? How do you make the guests feel comfortable? Different things like that you're going to ask when you're doing the work. Everything else is like, okay, so what site are you on? Who does your graphics? I mean, stuff that really doesn't have to do with the skill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just how I hear exactly what you're saying, because I think so many times we go and we hear advice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not what we want to hear, so we go to the next person and it's like, oh, that's great advice, but it's really not what they want to hear, so they go to the next person and, oh, okay,
Right.
thank you, right? But it's like, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as overnight success, whether you're career minded or you're that entrepreneur, or even in a family. I mean, you have 15 children.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't become America's supermom overnight. You had to grow into that. Now I can
Right.
guarantee you have a lot more patience, right?
Right.
A little bit,
I know that's right.
But I say
Patience
that
enough to leave the room and close the door, right?
patience enough not to lock them in the house and see you later, guys.
Right.
We're just playing God. but in all seriousness, your patience develops, and in
Mm-hmm.
every aspect, you need to have something's developing. It's that preparation, it's that season of growth. And I love what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying. And another thing that I love what you said too, right, is you have to ask for help. So
Yeah.
many times we really just, your pride, your ego gets in the
Mm-hmm.
way. And there's a sense too. Right now, somebody needs to hear this. I've heard this word a lot, so I want to talk about it. Meekness, being meek, right? But meek,
Mm-hmm.
I in the context that I've heard it from the different perspective, it's a false humility.
Mm-hmm.
a false humility of, oh, I don't need no help. Oh, I'm okay. No, I don't. I'm good. Right? Like somebody's like it's bothering somebody to help you. No, there's actually beautiful people like LaChelle that want to help you, that really want to add value to you. But the very fact, the
Mm-hmm.
problem is not, it's a false humility, but that comes from the sense of them not being able to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that a lot out there?
So true. Hey, I had to deal with that myself and still do sometimes because that is the whole thing. That is the balance between being a victim and a victor. See, when you're a victim, you're like, it's like, woe is me. This happened to me. And, you get attention from being um, an underdog. Whereas when you're meek, you understand that you're admitting something you don't know is an opportunity for somebody else to shine, right? And
Yes.
so it's okay to ask for help. And you realize, the Bible says that we all are many members of the body. So some's an eye, some's an ear, so we kind of limit the opportunity for each of these members to work to their ability if we don't ask for help and kind of lean on one another. The greatest lesson I learned from this was after I got home from my hospitalization. And I was so caught up with being this self motivated, independent type woman, with all this education, because I was just trying to figure out how I was going to navigate through all this. And I was in prayer, and the Lord said to me, now you believe that Jesus is the person who died for your sins. Okay. So he died for the whole world and he had 12 disciples. So what makes you think that you could do it by yourself?
Woo! I was smoking. I heard that one.
Yes,
If Jesus had 12 helpers, what makes you think you don't need any?
exactly.
Wow. That was a mic drop right there. Somebody needed to hear that.
Hmm.
Even being a believer, you need help.
Exactly.
Wow. You know what is amazing? That somebody really needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I just sensed that somebody really needed to hear that.
Hmm.
They think because they're a believer, they don't need to worry about, oh, God got me. Yeah, but God also sends you helpers and people here on earth because there's people like yourself, right? I mean, you've been a blessing in my life, and
Hmm.
it's like I wouldn't be able to do certain things without you, and it's a blessing to have people surrounded that like you in my proximity. You're a blessing. But
Hmm.
I want to go to number three now because this is one I kind of leading into this because so many times we dream,
Hmm.
we daydream.
Hmm.
This is dear to my heart because I just encountered this, right? But then we start dreaming so big. We dream and we daydream and we have it and we're excited and we're just full of joy in the inside, a shell. But then this is what happens. That dream is too big for the people around us,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The old crowd, I'll call them.
Hmm.
Hopefully they're the old crowd because their old crowd's not going to get you to have that dream come to pass.
Hmm.
Talk to us when you encountered that moment when you were gonna be. You came out with your cape. You came out with America Supermom, and woo woo, let's do this, right? And people looked at you like, she gone crazy because
Hmm.
your daydream, your vision of what
Hmm.
God had for you was too big for the people that were around you in that moment. Talk to us about that because I think so many times we allow that to hinder us
Hmm.
and we don't
Yeah.
allow ourselves to fly as high as we can because we worry about it. And I can tell you, I encountered this just myself here not too long ago because it's like so many people don't celebrate your victories. Talk to us about that.
Hmm. Yeah, the biggest superpower I have for that is the non-negotiable of waking up daily in prayer. See, I wake up with God telling me what to do for the day and keeping his vision first and foremost because I have learned that everything that I thought that I could do in my own might if you're not careful, it could be the downfall to you. But if you start with God, you don't have to wonder. I mean, there have been times, and I'll use the example of Clubhouse. There have been stages that I have been on, opportunities that I've been able to speak, that I could not have orchestrated that. I know it was nothing but God. From the accidental pushing of a button, getting in a room, you know how the notification comes up and you accidentally end up somewhere you had not anticipated being, and it will open the door for you. So I think instead of planning my own vision, it's listening to his vision. That's the first thing. The second thing is always being conscious of decreasing myself. There's a scripture in the word that says, as we decrease, he will increase.
Yes.
So you have more impact when you are willing to get down off the pedestal that people put you on.
Yes.
Okay. Because see, when you're on that pedestal, you're above the people, talking down to them. Let me tell you what to do, when you're just like them, right?
You're like, you have, I call it that shenane. Shenane. It's like, I'm right here. Ain't no shenane. Let me talk to you. You know who you're talking to? This is America's Supermom right here.
Exactly. So we all on the same level. But see, ego will make you think because you accomplished something that you're different than somebody else. But the thing about it is, if it wasn't for God, you wouldn't have accomplished it, because he says you have to abide in him,
Yes.
right? He's
Yes.
the vine, we're the branches. So when you get into that point to where you don't stay mindful of whose you are and what your purpose is that he created you for, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I've been there, done that. 13 years I lost with that mindset. And I'm just at a place where it's like, you know what? I don't have time. I have like a second chance, even though it was 3 hospitalizations.
Yes. No.
I now have a different outlook, and I'm just not going back. So I don't even entertain. If people don't understand, then, it's just like there was a scripture in the word where Jesus went amongst the people. It wasn't time for him to die, but they didn't see him. They didn't see him go amongst them. Okay, so some people just can't see. He says who has eyes or ears to see, let them do so. If you don't have it, then it's not my place to try to convince you and get you up to speed. That's not my calling.
So I want you to talk to that person, because I love what we're talking about here. And I want to, you're being called to dream big. You have this vision. For me, it was hard to let go of people, because I cried, right? I cried in my journey as an entrepreneur, because I knew that I had to let go, and not let go in a bad way, but just I needed to make space in my inner circle, because if not, I was never going to get I would have never met you, right? Let's be real talk, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that you're better than people, but you push them, right? Not that you push them out of your life, but you don't associate with them. How important is it to really do that transition as you're trying to become the person that God has for you? Because so many times what hinders us is the fact that we don't let go of that one family member, that one friend, or we value I call them their OPOs, right? Other people's opinions. And that will keep you, it'll keep you sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
And I experience this because, to me, I've been a great husband, and I've gone through a lot of work in myself, and God woke up and he goes, go reward yourself, right? Go ahead, do what you want to do. I got you. And sure enough, I post a picture, and because I'm celebrating, right? God says, celebrate, don't brag. He told me that. So I celebrated. And right away, like a day later, I read something. The old Daniel would have been immature and said a comment, but I didn't. I just left it alone. But it's like, oh, but they don't understand. It's like they don't understand God's character. They don't understand him as a good father, right? And a good father wants to reward his children when you're obedient, right? There's a word of being obedient and walking in our righteousness. But how do you what's a step you took, or tell us a time you encountered that when you were excited, you came home, boom, I'm a podcaster, whatever it may be, right? Look at me, woo, right? But not in a celebrating way. And then somebody right away, whether family member or close friend, they want to dim your light. And how did you handle that? And how did you start the transition from pushing them from the inner circle to the outer circle?
Yeah, just in being transparent, that is really something that I struggle with just in my own home because for 13 years and dealing with that journey of depression, my children especially see me being a different person. And this is something that, we battle every day because it's like, the old mom would have done this and been concerned from people pleasing and not having boundaries and not having a schedule. I mean, just a number of things. My life was consumed with my kids. And now the fact that they see me doing something else, it is a problem sometimes. It's like, oh, you're always on the phone, but they have never known me to have my intention on anything besides them. It has always been about them. And so, um, when people show you how they are, believe them. That is just something I tell my kids every day. I'm like, hey, my daughter, she's going through a situation with her job because certain things became aware to her that she really didn't recognize. And it's a growing opportunity for her. But I say that to where that is the easiest advice to think about because you don't have to judge people. You don't have to try to explain. You just see where they are. You know what I mean? It's like going to a gas station. Here in the South, we dealing with some places that don't have gas because of this gas thing. If the gas station doesn't have gas, you just go to the next one. And so that's just how it is. It's no judgment. Whatever you need, they can provide, so you keep it moving. And so I think that's the same thing when it comes to life. If you learn that, but we get into this whole thing, well, if it was me, I would be more caring and I would do it this way and all that. I mean, God didn't tell you to do that. He just said, hey, shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Don't get into this emotional thing, right?
But
He
how do you
says,
know?
be
But let me.
angry and sin not.
But how do you know when to let go of some of those relationships?
Well, I think it's based on how they make you feel, right? We can tell a lot by our emotions. So if you feel like it's not positive, if you feel like you can't be 100% of who you are, if you have to sugarcoat stuff or not tell certain things or dim your own light to make somebody else, I mean, all these things, that's a sign that it is, you have to educate people how to level up in a way that serves you and them. That's the thing about being able to tell people the truth, right?
Yes.
People don't want to hear the truth. I mean, that's just like, for example, let's say you're making um, nine figures in your business, right? Well, there's work that goes to making them nine figures. The fact that you say I'm doing nine figures and everything, people who don't have that work ethic don't understand that just because you didn't just pull that number out of the sky. It was work that goes with that. Income producing activities, period. Right?
Yes.
So that's how it is. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to get a shortcut. Okay, you're making nine figures. Can you help me out? Or how do I do it? I want to do it faster than you and all this stuff. And it's like, you got to do the work.
I love that. Right? You're just amazing. You're just a rock star right there. So I want you to take a moment right now because you've
Okay.
talked about this is something that's dear to my heart because I remember when my older brother committed suicide. I got depressed for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to that person right now that needs a word of encouragement. That's either they know they're in depression or you have somebody in there that doesn't know. Speak life into them for about a minute or two and just really just talk to them and let them know what's helped you get out of that rut,
Yeah.
that funk of depression.
Mm-hmm. I think the one thing is to remember that you are enough. A lot of the depression in my situation was my own inner bully. I was bullying myself. I was making myself believe I wasn't enough. I was a failure. And comparing myself to other people, you know, not being able to have all the facts. You know, you can compare yourself to somebody's highlight reel, but that highlight reel has been edited, it has been the perfect lighting, airbrushed, whatever. You don't really know what makes that picture be what it is. And we're just using that as an example. So you have to know that you are enough. Your worst days, everybody has them. Everybody has their worst days. Everybody has something about themselves that they're not proud of. Everybody has something that they're not good at. Don't let somebody's 5 minutes of fame rob you of your whole future, because it's only 5 minutes, right? It's only 5 minutes. We show all the good parts, but that is not what everybody's day is, day in and day out. You know, you don't know what went on before that picture, what goes on after that picture. And, you know, you just can't make a judgment about somebody and who they are from a picture. So often you could be riding alongside somebody on the road and they have a nice car. But do you know if that's the mechanic taking it back to the dealership because they had to get some gas, because it was service? But we will create a whole story. Oh, they're driving this car, they have it good, they live in a big house, they don't have any bills, all this stuff. The person may not even have insurance. I mean, I'm just saying. So the point is, use that energy for creating your own dream. Don't waste your dreams on building stories for other people when you have your own life that you can um, be in charge of. And so change your friends. Stop watching the news. Get off social media. Find some different music to listen to. You know, do whatever it takes to get you started with just that one thing that gets you out of bed, and then just keep growing from there, you know, because you're not alone. We all have the same challenges. And I have plenty of friends that hold me accountable to things that help me to not get stuck where I am and to keep on pushing forward.
Man, I love that. Woo! That was America's Supermom right there. Man, that was just some good stuff right there. I'm still soaking that one in.
Yeah.
You don't know. That might just be a borrowed car.
So
You know
true.
what? You know what came to mind when you said that was just that, you know, we think of the Grant Cardones and the Eric
Mhm.
Thomases, they have problems too. You
So
think
true.
of Anthony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins. He was divorced at
Mhm.
one time too. He has everything ain't perfect in their lives, but
So true.
it's not. I'm just being real, right?
Yeah.
But either they learn how to deal with cope with certain situations. So I don't want to say cope, but grow and work through those things in a different perspective. And that's what it makes them unique to say. But they all have these encounters.
Yeah.
We all have the encounter. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it doesn't matter. Even I don't know, the wealthiest person on earth. Look, I think I just read the other day, Bill Gates is getting a divorce too, right? I'm
Oh
not.
yeah. Yeah.
But so
So
think
true.
about. I mean, but think about that. You think that no, like everybody is going through things. The thing is God the center of your life? Is Christ the center of your life? At the end
So
of the
true.
day, my peace is, even though it's the storms around me,
Right.
in the center of my life, I'm at peace because I'm like, God, you got this. And many
Yeah.
times it's just that it's that hard, but it's that simple. And
So true.
you know what keeps us is we always want to be in control. And once I learned to release control, it's amazing how much my business grew. It's amazing how
Mhm.
our lives just elevated because I was the one holding the growth back. God's like, dude,
So true.
God says, you're waiting on me. I'm waiting on you. Come on.
So true. And the thing about it is we're never in control. We think we are, and we're not. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
control anything. But you know, I was listening to a pastor or somebody the other day, and he said, and I'll use this because we're talking about Daniel, right? He said, if it wasn't for Goliath, Daniel would have never been king. So our Goliaths are those obstacles that we feel. Look at how the people were in fear. Daniel was the smallest,
Yeah.
okay, the youngest of his brothers. And he faced that obstacle with God as his protector and fighter, just his mindset to conquer that. So how many opportunities are we allowing ourselves not to take part in because we don't want to overcome the obstacle that is there to help us to be something greater to promote us? Because it wouldn't happen if Daniel didn't have Goliath.
See, I'm listening to you talking, God speaking to you, because you said Daniel 5 times, and that's God speaking to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that
Mm-hmm.
because somebody listened to it. It wasn't Dave. It wasn't Daniel. It was David. But God's using LaChelle
Oh
right now.
yes, he
God's
did.
God's using LaChelle to speak to me right now. Is that Daniel? It's those Goliaths that are making you who,
So true. You're right. It was
right?
David. But
But
yes.
you're speaking to me through God, and you don't even realize it. Thank you, Jesus. Right? LaChelle, tell us a quote or a scripture that you lean on during time of adversity. As we come to an end of our amazing episode, I don't want to leave, but time
Yeah,
flies when you're having fun.
yeah, I have so many, but I would say that God will not put more on you than you can bear. Why is that? Because a lot of times we get in our own way. We have a lot of ego and we want to take credits for a lot of things that God gives us, right? So he gives us only what we can bear because that's all he can depend on us to handle, because we would be in that space of, well, I did it, puffing out our chests and everything. And that's the whole thing about faith, so I think we need to stop limiting our vision to what's in front of us and begin to create the vision that we want to see in the future. We talk a lot about, at least I have just been in circles here lately, a lot of people talking about manifesting. And manifestation, I believe, is true. God already showed us that we have the ability to do this with his scripture. There's a lot about prophecy, which is the same thing as manifestation, right? So we have to be in a place to not allow the limitations of our belief to be limited to what we see right now. We have to realize that what you see is not faith because it already is created. So the place where you're at, you have created this space based on your past actions. So if you want something different tomorrow, you're going to have to do something today that's going to reap a different harvest for you tomorrow.
Amen.
So that's what I would say.
Wow. So how do we get a hold of you? If somebody wants to connect with LaChelle, America's Supermom, how do we connect with you, LaChelle?
I'm on all social media platforms. They can just look me up, America's Supermom. And it has just been a pleasure to be here. I could be here all day. So I am just loving the conversation.
Wow. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The one and only. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's America's Supermom. LaChelle Adkins, thank you so much for being here with us. And if you're stuck in life and business, and if your business is not moving forward, reach out to us at Shield of Faith Coaching. Go to DanielGomezGlobal.com. That's www.danielgomezglobal.com. Send us a message to the contact, and we want to give you a complimentary 45-minute coaching session. Our gift to you to help you just get going in the right direction. We want to add value to you. So remember, if you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, Shield of Faith Coaching, we can definitely help you. That's a wrap for this week's episode. We'll see you next week here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.